Breaking news! Get ready because this week is going to bring a lot of surprises. The Denver Broncos just pulled off a shocker in the AFC West, and even their biggest rivals are being forced to admit it. I'll tell you everything I learned today, but first make sure you've hit the like button if you've been a Denver Broncos fan for over 19 years. If possible, comment something like, "My heart bleeds orange and blue." Well, here's the deal. When content creators from the Raiders, Chargers, and even the Chiefs are praising your offseason moves, you know something special is happening. This isn't just excitement, it's real momentum building in Denver, and it's coming from the right places, from leadership, smart acquisitions, and a vision that's finally working under Sean Payton. Broncos country, you've been through a lot in the last few years, but this could be the turning point. Let's start with the facts. The Broncos finished last season as a top 3 defense in nearly every major metric. That's elite territory. But instead of resting on their laurels, they've gone all in on fixing their weaknesses. The inside linebacker spot was a clear hole. Now it's been filled by Dre Greenlaw, a true game breaker. In the first half of the Super Bowl, Greenlaw limited Travis Kelce to just 1 reception. Then, when Greenlaw went down with an Achilles injury, Kelce exploded and the Chiefs dominated the game. This guy is so impactful, and make no mistake, the 49ers did everything they could to keep him. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch literally flew to Texas to try to convince him to stay. But it was too late. Greenlaw chose Denver. That's the kind of move that changes the tone of a locker room. That's the kind of move that tells everyone you're serious. Then there's the tight end position, an area Denver hasn't had a real threat at since the days of Julius Thomas. Enter Evan Ingram. The moment he tweeted out that "Why so serious?" Joker gif, you knew something was up. And yes, some are trying to downplay it, calling him out for a down year. But let's look at that so-called down year. 47 catches, missing 8 games with a hamstring injury and a torn labrum. That's more production in fewer games than any Broncos tight end has put up in years. His ceiling is still high. And now, in an offense built by Sean Payton, he's not just another tight end, he's the Joker. He picked Bo Nix and Denver over Justin Herbert and the Chargers. That says a lot. Let's be real, Chargers fans even admitted they saw the writing on the wall. They needed a tight end just as badly and still couldn't lock him down. Ingram chose Denver, and for a fan base that's been starving for offensive firepower, this is a real weapon coming in. What's also key is the strategic restraint the Broncos have shown. They didn't go overboard in a deep running back free agent class. That's not a miss. That's calculated. They're clearly planning to address that in the draft, possibly going after someone like a Marion Hampton. It makes sense, especially with so much depth available this year. And it gives Denver flexibility to focus on even more high-impact positions in the early rounds, like a developmental tight end to groom behind Ingram or additional defensive reinforcements to keep that top 3 ranking secure. Tashawn Gibson Sr., DJ Jones back on a 3-year deal, Talanoa Hufanga arriving at safety, and the GOAT backup Jared Stidham sticking around. These are smart, strategic pieces. Each one adds value. Each one fits a purpose. DJ Jones remains a key rotational disruptor on the defensive line. Hufanga, when healthy, is a dynamo, and pairing him with someone like Brandon Jones in the secondary could be a real problem for opposing offenses. Even rival fans agree. This defense is getting better. Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers all gave Denver an A or A for their offseason moves. That's not coming from Broncos fans sipping the Kool-Aid. That's coming from guys who can't stand Denver, but can't deny what they're seeing. That's respect. And while some tried to downplay Ingram's arrival by comparing him to guys like Noah Gray, let's not pretend the context is the same. Ingram was dealing with injuries and still outproduced Broncos tight ends by a wide margin. And now, he's got Sean Payton calling the plays and Bo Nix slinging the ball. That's an entirely different setup. Greenlaw was the crown jewel, no question. But don't overlook the cumulative impact of this offseason. When you factor in the players lost, the cap situation still haunted by Russell Wilson's dead money, and the limitations that came with that, the Broncos didn't just survive the offseason, they owned it. A top 3 defense got better. The offense added legit weapons. The locker room is energized. And maybe most importantly, this team looks like it finally has an identity again. So, Broncos country, what do you think? Is this the best offseason we've had since Peyton Manning? Is this team now positioned not just to compete, but to finally win the AFC West? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's ride this momentum. And now that we've set the stage for what Denver did this offseason, it's time to really dig into what it means going forward, not just in the AFC West, but for the entire AFC playoff picture. Because if you're watching this and still think the Broncos are just off-season darlings destined to flame out again, you haven't been paying attention. This isn't the same team that stumbled under the weight of high expectations in past seasons. This is a team with a plan, a team with continuity on defense, a team getting younger and faster in key spots, and a team that just added leadership and explosiveness where it mattered most. Let's talk a little more about Dre Greenlaw and what his presence truly brings to Denver. This isn't just a quality linebacker, this is a tone setter. He's a sideline-to-sideline missile who brings championship experience, physicality, and swagger. When you drop him into a defense that already has guys like Pat Surtain II, Zach Allen, DJ Jones, and now Hufanga flying around in the back end, you're talking about a unit that doesn't just stop teams, it dictates terms. They already finished last year as a top 3 defense without him. Now, they're scary. And while Greenlaw might be recovering from an Achilles injury, you have to remember, the 49ers, the team with the most intel on his health, were desperate to keep him. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch hopping on a plane to Texas wasn't just for show. That's not something you do unless you believe the guy has more top-level football in him. That's the kind of statement that should get Broncos fans fired up. Because if he's even close to 100%, the middle of Denver's defense just went from solid to elite. Same goes for Talanoa Hufanga. People forget how much of a game changer he was when healthy. That dude was a Pro Bowl safety with instincts, range, and physicality. He's got the versatility to play deep, in the box, or even match up in the slot against certain tight ends. That gives Vance Joseph a ton of flexibility in how he disguises coverages and matches up. And with Brandon Jones back there as well, Denver's safety room went from shaky to loaded. Offensively, Evan Ingram brings more than just stats. He brings matchup nightmares. At 6 feet 3 inches and 240 pounds with 4.4 speed, he can line up in the slot, out wide, or in line. He creates real mismatches, especially when paired with a smart play caller like Sean Payton. Denver hasn't had this kind of chess piece at tight end in nearly a decade. Ingram's down year, 47 catches in just 9 games, would have been the best season by a Broncos tight end since Julius Thomas. That's not just improvement, that's a game changer. But it's not just about the stars. What makes this offseason even more impressive is the attention to depth. Jarrett Stidham returning as QB2 keeps the quarterback room steady. He's familiar with the system, knows the locker room, and has proven he can step in when needed. That kind of continuity matters, especially with a rookie quarterback like Bo Nix likely stepping into the spotlight. Speaking of Bo Nix, this whole offseason, every move feels like it's building a foundation around him. You don't bring in a weapon like Evan Ingram and build up your defense if you're planning to just tread water. You do it because you believe your quarterback can win now. And don't underestimate how big a deal it was for Ingram to choose Nix and Payton over Herbert and Harbaugh in LA. That speaks volumes about the vision being sold in Denver right now. And let's not forget, the Broncos are still dealing with the second half of that massive Russell Wilson dead cap hit. They're making all these upgrades without a full arsenal of spending power. That's front office efficiency at its finest. George Payton and Sean Payton are clearly in sync, and the entire football operation seems to be rowing in the same direction for the first time in years. But as always, it comes down to what happens on the field. So I want to hear from you, Broncos fans. Is this the year? Is this the offseason that finally changes everything? Do you believe this team can win the AFC West? Can they get past the Chiefs, past the Chargers, past the Raiders, and start contending for real in the AFC? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget, this isn't just hype. The rest of the division is watching, and they're taking notice. The Denver Broncos are back.